Leaks. We got leaks everywhere. The New York Jets 2024 schedule is officially off the books and ready to be talked about. We're going to discuss everything from how far this team can go to the likely record of the 2024 season. All of that coming up here on a Wednesday edition of Football with Faria.
It's time for Football with Faria.
You got to get the offense right, and you got to be able to be aggressive. They put up 14 against the secondary. That is driving me up a freaking wall right now.
Now here's your host, Nick Faria.
Alrighty, Wednesday edition. It's raining outside here in Bayside. The weather is ugly and disgusting, but it's all good vibes today, baby. The NFL official schedule release here is upon us. 2024 season just a few months away, and the NFL gives us a little bit of crumbs here today to talk about the upcoming season and the opponents that each team is going to be facing throughout their schedule. Again, as always, appreciate all of you guys for jumping on. A lot to talk about today. We're going to discuss the entire schedule for the Jets. We're going to sprinkle in some Eagles coverage as well. But I got to tell you, and again, as always, before I get started, I have to make sure we thank all the people that are jumping on for today's show. If you guys are available, click like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you guys want to call in, link in the YouTube description down below. We'll get callers on in just a little bit. But the 2024 schedule release, it's technically supposed to start at 8 o'clock. It's technically supposed to be the time that social media teams for each organization come out and show these really unique ways of talking about their opponents for the upcoming season. And that's all gone by the wayside. We know the entire Jets' 18-week schedule. We know Philadelphia's 18-week schedule. Some teams have not fully been established. But for the most part, we know exactly who and when the New York Jets will be playing this season. It's going to be interesting because we're going to go through this. And the one common consensus that I have seen from a lot of Jet fans and some reporters as well is that the first 10, 11 games are brutal for the Jets franchise. And I may be in the minority. I may be the one person here that's telling you, the general public, that this schedule for the Jets is about as strong as you can hope for in terms of making sure the Jets are ready for a postseason run. And what I mean by postseason run, I mean they have some tough games sprinkled in throughout the year, like every team does. But top to bottom, that's not a hard schedule. The Jets 2024 schedule that we're going to get into in a little bit is one of the easiest that I have seen so far at this point with all the things going on and all the leaks coming out. We're going to get to the schedule in a little bit, like I said. But if you're a Jets fan, you have to be very, very pleased at what this schedule looks like right now. So let's get to it. Let's get to the schedule. I'm going to go and list this off right from the beginning. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. If you guys have questions as well, leave them in the comments section. I'll try to answer them all throughout today's program. But we know, and we have known for the last couple of days, that the Jets are opening up the season on Monday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers. I have said, I've been on the record saying that the 49ers are going to be the toughest opponent the Jets will face all season. And the fact that they get them week one is a great thing. The 49ers have historically started out slow. I know they started 5-0 last year. I know they had that great start last season. But if you look at 2022, 2021, 2020, 2019, these were slow starts of the season. Their best ball is played in the month of November and December. The fact that the Jets get the 49ers week one on Monday Night Football is a great thing for New York. You have your barometer test right away against a championship contender, but you play a team that is not going to be 100%, is not going to be perfect right away. They're going to be a championship contender. It just may not be in week one, and that's a great thing for the Jets. And here is where, after week one, here is where people are under debate over the difficult start that the Jets have had. And some people will look and say the Jets play 3 games in 10 days to start the season. Once again, and it's just a grueling start because you can't play all these games and expect to be 100%. But look at the opponents that you play in those 3 weeks. This isn't like you're playing the Cowboys and the Patriots and the Bills back to back to back. You're not playing the Chiefs and Eagles. You're playing week 2, the Tennessee Titans. And most people, while agreeing that Tennessee could be much improved from last season, they still have a long way to go. Their defense is an absolute mess. Their offense has improved in the offensive line and receiving core, but it's not good enough to essentially say that they are going to beat the Jets in week 2. I think that's as clear a victory as you can find on a typical Sunday on the road. This is a winnable game for the Jets. They have a strength at every part where the Titans are weak. Easy start, easy 1-1 at worst start for the New York Jets. And then we go into week 3. You play the Titans, you play the 49ers. Those are the first 2 games. And then you have a Thursday night game at home against the New England Patriots. And I know one of my friends is on here who's a Patriots fan. I know Austin's here watching, and I do appreciate him watching and giving his expertise. But at the same time, the Patriots are not going to be good this season. The Patriots are not going to be good because they do not have the weapons to be considered a contender right away. So that's another win for the Jets. Easy. 3 games in 10 days, but those 3 games are the 49ers, Titans, and Patriots. The Patriots defense could be improved. The Titans offense could be improved. But on the opposite side, there are questions. There are questions on the Titans defense. There are questions in New England's offense. The Jets should be able to win those games. At worst, they should be 2-1 in that 3-game stretch. At worst, 2-1. There's no excuse to lose to the Patriots now that Bill Belichick is gone. Gerard Mayo has coaching questions. In that retrospect, you should think that Robert Saleh will do enough to outcoach the Patriots' new head coach. There's no excuse anymore. There is no excuse. So those are the first 3 games. Again, 3 games in 10 days. It's not the best situation to be in, but you're playing 2 teams that had top 10 picks last year. They're not going to be good, and they don't know who's going to be their starting quarterback. And then it gets even easier. You may not think it gets easier, but it gets easier. Because then in week 4, the Denver Broncos come to MetLife Stadium. Typical Sunday, you got a longer week break after playing on Thursday night, and you play a Broncos team that is in transition. The Broncos are not going to be good this season. They're not going to be good this season. So the Denver Broncos very well could be starting Bo Nix. Very well could be starting Bo Nix. They could go in a different quarterback direction. Or Zach Wilson starts week 4 against the Jets. And if that were to happen, New York is going to roll. So I think 3-1 is certainly possible. Certainly possible and should be expected. 3-1 start, I think Jet fans will be very, very happy about that situation. Then they go to week 5, and they go to London, as this has been already announced, to take on the Minnesota Vikings. It's a scheduled road game in London, so a neutral site, against a Minnesota Vikings team that, again, we don't know who's going to be their starting quarterback. Will it be Sam Darnold? Will it be J.J. McCarthy? Things to consider. The Vikings are a solid team. They're going to be improved from last season, but are they better than the Jets top to bottom? Is J.J. McCarthy better than Aaron Rodgers? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I think that's another victory for the Jets. And think about it. Think about the objective craziness that will come up if the Jets beat the Vikings and go to 4-1 on the season to start. 4-1. Pretty damn good. Pretty damn awesome if that's going to be the case for you Jet fans. Again, from an objective standpoint, I am looking at this schedule. I am breaking down each game from an objective lens. I'm not feeding you bullshit. I'm not feeding you the ultra positive outlook. I'm not feeding you the ultra negative outlook. I'm being quite frank. Titans, Patriots, Broncos, Vikings, 4 straight games. That's as good as you can get in your first 5-game slate. That's as good as you can get. And even if you beat the 49ers, which is not a foregone conclusion, but you can beat them, you could be looking at 5-0. Again, I'm not saying that's likely. I still have the 49ers winning in week 1, but 4-1 is fantastic to start the season. Absolutely fantastic. And here's where things get a little weird. And when I say weird, I thought, and again, the majority of this schedule leak should absolutely go to Matt O'Leary because he had this pegged from the beginning. I was very questioned. I questioned it a lot simply because most teams after a London trip usually get the week off. They usually get a bye week the following week to sort of acclimate themselves back to the United States. And the Jets aren't going to be that way. They're not going to be that way. I'm not sure why they agreed to this. I'm not sure why they did this. But immediately after the London trip, they take on the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. I think this is, again, a winnable game for the Jets. Do I think that this is certainly a spot where they can be tripped up? Absolutely. The Bills, they still have Josh Allen. There's still question marks there. All that needs to be taken into account. But again, it's at home. You're not playing the Bills in Buffalo yet. So I think the Jets should be favored in that game with an opportunity to go 5-1. I'm going to say, objectively, I don't like the situation with having to play a game immediately after a London trip. I'll pencil that down as a loss. The Jets fall to 4-2. And if you thought the Jets' prime time situation was over, then think again, because in week 7, they are in Pittsburgh for a Sunday night football game on October 20th. So Russell Wilson versus Aaron Rodgers, maybe Justin Fields versus Aaron Rodgers. All those things have to be answered. But week 7, the Jets at Pittsburgh, I'll take the Jets in that victory 10 times out of 10. I really like this Jets roster. I have a lot of questions about Mike Tomlin as a head coach, particularly now when he has all this talent. So I think the Jets move to 5-2 pretty easily. I don't trust Pittsburgh at home. If you look at every major game the Steelers have played in their history over the last 20 years, the majority of their wins are coming on the road. The majority of them are coming on the road. You look at the 2005 Super Bowl run, all their games on the road. 2008, they win the Super Bowl? Of course, all those games are at home. But 2007, wild card loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You have, let me go through the list. Boom, boom. Then it was 2017 being upset by the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, but beating the Cincinnati Bengals in 2016 at home, on the road, excuse me. So the Steelers are not this dominant team at Heinz Field or whatever the hell they call it there now. I think that's going to be a win. And then week 8 in Foxborough against the New England Patriots. If the Jets do not sweep the New England Patriots, it will be an embarrassment upon embarrassment for the New York Jets franchise. The Patriots are not going to be good this season. They could be more competitive. They could be a little bit better in spurts. But top to bottom, do the Patriots have a roster that should be able to compete with the Jets? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, yes, this should be a sweep. The Patriots should be swept by the Jets, and anything less should be an embarrassment for New York as a franchise. 6-2, going into the halfway point of the season. I'm going to pause. Make sure you guys marinate before I go over into the second half of the season. I do have a caller on right now. It's Johnny. Johnny, how's everything going?
Hey, it's going great, man. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, first off, bro, thank you so much for saying all that because it's the truth. Like the fact that I think the only game that I'm maybe worried about, and I'm not even worried about, to be honest with you, is San Fran. And if San Francisco is the game that let's just say we end up losing, but we were right there in striking distance of beating them, right? It's a win-win for us, regardless of what everybody's out here just scrambling around and all that. So shout out to Matt O'Leary if this is the schedule that was put out there. But I would
I
love
can
to hear
confirm.
what you're
So
saying.
it's not just O'Leary. Costello has put it out. It's the same one. If Costello's putting it out and he's heard it from a source, it's the official Jets 2024 schedule.
Yeah, hey, do your thing on the second half. I would love to hear it, and if you don't mind, I would love to kind of comment in regards of it as well as you doing your
I'll
thing.
have you jump back on. I'll have you jump back on for the second half of the show. All good?
Yeah, we're good, bro. Thanks,
Perfect.
man.
Appreciate it, Johnny. Again, right now, instant reaction. I have the Jets at 6-2 through the first 8 games of the season. 6-2 will probably have them in contention for the number 1 seed in the AFC. So pretty damn solid overall. Pretty damn solid. After the Patriots road game, in which I think the Jets are going to dominate, they have another Thursday night game. And this is kind of why I was skeptical about O'Leary's post, because not many teams I have seen in history, they don't play 2 Thursday night games when one of them isn't a Thanksgiving Day game. You know what I mean? So the fact that they have to play Houston on a Thursday night game after a 2-game winning streak, I have doubts. If there's one team outside of the Chiefs that I think could match up well against the Jets, it's the Houston Texans. They're very talented. And while I do have concerns about a sophomore slump for CJ Stroud, just because it's the natural progression of young players, I think the Texans could win that game. I absolutely do. So again, objectively, I'm going to call that one up as a loss. I have the Jets now 6-3 going into week 10. And now 2 more games before the bye week. The bye week for the Jets is week 12. Week 10, they are in Arizona for a contest against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals will be much better than last season. They won all of 5 games? They weren't that good. And despite that, despite how good the Cardinals are going to be, how improved the Cardinals are going to be, I think the Jets are going to roll that game. The Cardinals don't have the front line on offense or defense to be able to handle the Jets up front. And for that reason, I think the Jets will be able to win that game. They go to 7-3. Week 11, it is a game against the Indianapolis Colts, a home game, another primetime home game against the Colts on Sunday Night Football. The Colts are going to be an interesting team this year. They're going to be interesting because Richardson, a lot of people like him. I am highly skeptical of him because I didn't like anything he showed in college. And even the tape that he showed in the NFL was about being a good athlete, not a good quarterback. So I have some questions that Richardson's going to have to answer. I do think the Jets are going to be able to win this game because the Colts front 7 is not better than the Jets. How many times have we said this over the course of the season where the Jets front 7 on offense and defense are equal to each other in terms of talent? It hasn't happened before. So the fact that the Jets have this at their disposal right now should tell you that they are going to be favored in many of these games. The Colts being one of them. So a win against the Colts will put them at 8-3 going into the bye week. Going into week 12, 8-3, that's about as great a start as you can ask for. And I have said from the beginning that the Jets, this is a winnable schedule. You've got, what is it now, 6 more games? 6 more games before the season ends. And you can look down the list and you can look at a lot of different wins at your disposal. First off, a home game against the Seattle Seahawks, Sunday, December 1st. The Jets kick off the month of December with a home game against the Seahawks, who have taken hits in free agency, who have not greatly improved the quarterback room. This is a game the Jets, again, should be able to win convincingly. 9-3. Week 14 against the Miami Dolphins on the road. And the one thing with the Dolphins that I'll say, and I've been a strong component of this as well, when you play Miami, you don't want to play Miami in September or October because the heat on the turf is just awful, absolutely awful. If you are playing the Dolphins, you want to play them in December in Florida because it's not going to be as humid. It's not going to be as hot. So for the Jets, being able to play that game in Miami on the road, big win. Do I think that they're going to win this game? Probably not. I think it's a safe bet to assume that the Jets and the Dolphins will split the season series, as it is for many divisions with their top two teams going against each other. The Cowboys and Eagles have split the season series in back-to-back years. It's safe to assume that the Jets and Dolphins would probably be doing the same. And when that's the case, you give the home team the advantage in each round. So I think the Dolphins win this game. That puts the Jets to, 10-4? I think 10-4. Let's just go with it. Might be 9-4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 10-4. No, 9-4. 9-4. Jesus. Can't do math. 9-4. So again, week 14, you play the Dolphins. I think they lose. That's their fourth loss of the year. Then you play the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road December 15th. Now, Jacksonville is going to be better than last season. Do I think that they're going to be good enough to win the South or good to be, a contender in the AFC? Probably not. A lot of people continue to forget that Doug Peterson, as great as a head coach he was in Philadelphia in those first few years, his offense has really, really struggled to adjust to the modern NFL. So I think the Jets are going to beat Jacksonville, and I think they can beat them convincingly. I don't think that's going to be a relatively close game because as long as the Jets are healthy, they have the superior player at each position along the offense and defense. 10-4 now. 10-4 Jets competing for a 1 seed late into December. How does everyone feel about that? Pretty damn good to me if that was the case. Week 16 against the LA Rams. Sunday, December 22nd, a few days before Christmas. The Rams having to come to MetLife, again, in the cold, December cold in New York. I think that's a win for the Jets. The Giants were able to compete with the Rams last season, and the Giants were terrible. What are the Jets going to do when they're playing their best ball in December? I think that's another win. I think it's another win. 11-4. 11-4, the Jets with their final two games of the season. Week 17, the Jets have a road contest against the Buffalo Bills. Now, this may come as a surprise to some. I think the Bills will sweep the Jets this year. I think they will sweep the Jets because every time the Jets play Buffalo, it is at an inopportune time for the organization. What I mean by inopportune time, remember, the home game at MetLife against the Bills is a week after the London game. The team is going to be tired. The team is going to be stressed. It's just going to be hard to deal with. The Bills are going to be desperate here in late December because they are going to be competing for a playoff berth, not the division crown. I think it's a very strong likelihood that the Bills sweep the Jets, not based on because they have more talent than them, but because circumstance gets in the way. And then the final game of the season, which I think will be for the AFC East crown. The Miami Dolphins coming to MetLife Stadium, Week 18, time TBD. Tua Tagovailoa in the cold. That's a recipe for disaster for the Miami Dolphins. The Jets win that game, get to 12-5. They win the division. They are the 2 seed in the AFC, and they get to the AFC Championship game for the first time since 2010. This schedule, this Jets schedule that everyone is worried about is a clear example of people freaking out over a schedule before really analyzing what is being said, what is being put on paper. There is no excuse anymore. The New York Jets are going to win a minimum of 12 games this season. And if you look at the schedule from an objective point of view, if you look at it from a perspective of who is going to be the favorite in each game, counting every single particular example, the Jets are winning at minimum 12 games. They are going to win the East because the schedule allows them to win the East. There is no massive stretch that is so difficult for them to get through. There is no Kansas City and Philadelphia in 2 out of 3 weeks. There is no Buffalo and Dallas to start the season. The New York Jets have one of the most opportune schedules that I see so far in this schedule release. This is clearly screaming 12 wins for the Jets and an AFC East crown for the first time since 2002. Plain and simple. That is my prediction. You want an official prediction? I'm going to give it out on Athlon Sports in a couple hours. I talked about my instant reaction. If you guys haven't already read it, definitely take a look at it on Twitter and Athlon Sports. But this is a 12-5 team at minimum. At minimum. When they're healthy, even if they deal with some injuries, this schedule is not overbearing. It is not difficult. Sure, they have to travel a lot, but so do other contending teams. This is no different than anything else. The Eagles travel just as much as the Jets, and they have a harder start to the schedule as well. They play a Falcons team that's a lot better. They play the Packers, the Bucks, all these teams 1, 2, and 3. But if you're the Jets and you're the Jets fan base, it's time to get excited because this schedule, people are going to be concerned about. There's nothing to be concerned about. This is a winnable schedule. This is a schedule that will allow you to play your best brand of football in the month of December while also picking up wins early in the season. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. All right, we're at the 5:30 mark. I'm going to try to answer all of your questions in the chat. So let's go through it. Johnny, I'm going to bring you back on for your initial reaction. What do you think, man? What do you think about the schedule?
I love it. So this is awesome. I mean, give me 12-5 all day, every day, right? But I think we lose 3 games.
You're saying 14-3. You're saying 14-3.
14-3, yes. The games that I think that we lose, right, is week 1. I think week 1 we lose to the Niners.
I agree.
Right? I would go ahead and say that week 9 with Houston we lose. And yes, I feel like we split with Buffalo. I think
So
Buffalo
you say a
is
sweep of Miami, but you split Buffalo.
Yep, sweep of the Patriots because sweep of the Patriots, of course. Sweep of Miami because of the time frame that we're gonna play them into. The biggest thing for myself within the week 14 piece of it, right, was playing in Miami during that humidity heat, which people cramp up, etc.
100%. That's what I was talking about.
Our defense is made on speed, right? And what kills that is cramps. So, yeah, I have it as 14 wins and 3 losses because there's no this schedule is so favorable for us it's insane. I know a lot of people are like, but we're traveling on the road, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, but the teams that we're traveling on the road are teams that are very beatable, that are having so many issues, right, within their organization itself.
Are you worried? Are you worried about traveling to London to play the Vikings this season, or going to Tennessee in week 2? I mean, come on, people. I mean, even the Steelers game. People will worry about the Steelers game, but we have seen historically that the Pittsburgh Steelers will play down to opponents, and they could very well be on the brink of their season at that point. That's a winnable game for the Jets as well. They're going to have questions at receiver along the secondary. This is as good of a schedule as you can hope for if you're the Jets.
Agree 100% with you. And exactly, are you scared of Will Levis? Are you scared of, what is his name, Pickett? Right?
Well, Kenny Pickett's up. It's Russell Wilson. But yes, I get what you're saying.
But again, are you scared of Russell Wilson? Like, it's insane to me.
He's beaten Philadelphia every single time he plays them. So I am personally, but
and Nick,
that's not the Jets part.
I have to give you so much kudos because you're the first individual to say this, right? That all these teams that we're talking about are having issues. And you know the team that's not having issues right now? It's the Jets. When has this been the last time that us as an organizations have not had any issues in regards of that? I think at this point we're nitpicking at some of the different rooms that we have, right? That we could say maybe we could go ahead and bolster the linebacking room. Maybe we could bolster the safety room. I mean, and even then you come back to us and you say, well, Johnny, look at this, right? They believe in Sherwood. They believe in Barnes, right? They believe on Tony Adams. Ashton Davis, Chuck Clark. I mean, if anything that we could go ahead and nitpick, don't do it on the defensive side because they're set and they're ready to rock and roll. You could put all your trust into that. As long as we keep Aaron Rodgers upright and everything, I think we're gonna be fine, man. So like, dude, you're killing it, bro. I appreciate when you come up here and you spit facts and all that. And that's the other thing that people need to understand too. You're coming at this, right, as a person that's a Philadelphia Eagles fan
I'm not a
too.
Jets fan. I've said this before. I'm not a Jets fan. I just cover the team. I'm giving you the objective of the opinion of a fan that is not even of the team. This is not a homer thing. This is not a, oh, well, I want to make fans happy to come in and follow. It is me telling you, Jets against the Titans. Oh, I take the Jets in that game. Jets against the Vikings. I'll take that one as well. Aaron Rodgers against Russell Wilson. I'll take Aaron Rodgers. What are we doing here?
Dude, I remember, I think it was a couple shows ago, I said that I feel like the Super Bowl this year, right, being said, with no injuries, right, it's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles versus the New York Jets. I'm telling you, it is like ran up there. Dude, your guys' team is going to be so running in full cylinders. That defense is going to be so nasty that people do not get. It's mirroring what we have over here in the AFC,
Mm-hmm.
right, with the NFC. And it's crazy that not many people are speaking about that, right? And you kind of like are saying that, like, dude, what's the difference between Rosen, right, and what JD has done? And I'm like, shit, you know what? He's speaking facts. It's the truth, you know. So
Sometimes people that make trades to better the team kind of works out. Kind of
dude,
works out. All right, Johnny, I appreciate your call.
yeah, man.
One final piece. What is the one game, if you had an opportunity to go to, what's the one road game that you want to go and see this year?
All right. So I'm gonna give you two, unfortunately,
No, no,
because
no, no, no.
one
One game. One game. All your money in the world on one game. What do you want to
Monday
go see?
Monday Night Football, man, against the 49ers. I
Let's
mean,
do
the
'em.
storyline is there, and I'm like this close of already pulling the trigger to go ahead and go out there. As long as my wife gives me the green light, because she's gonna have our kid, and you guys know how that goes. So
Congratulations.
I appreciate you,
Congratulations.
brother. Keep doing your thing, man. And
Appreciate it.
well, how about the Mets? We don't know.
We're not talking about that one. All right, Johnny, thank you so much. We'll try to get to some of the other questions and talk about the rest of the schedule release. Snowball with the comments, so the schedule has been released before the release. Yes, Snowball, this is how it works. In free agency, we know what happens before the tampering period begins. The schedule release is out before the actual release has been established. So, yes, the Jets schedule, again, this is first reported by Brian Costello, so it has been officially confirmed by NFL sources. This is as good enough to move on and forward and talk about it as it is happening. Wild Wave. An interesting thing here. Nick, feed us the Kool-Aid. Again, there are going to be people, there are going to be some Jet reporters, there are going to be some national NFL reporters telling Jet fans that they are delusional if they think that this team is going to be good enough to win a majority of these games. And I challenge each and every one of you. I have said from the beginning, Jet fans are the most bipolar fan base I've ever seen in my life. I challenge all of you watching to hear those reporters and simply ask yourself this. Look at the 17 game schedule. Tell me who has the most talent in that game. San Francisco, New York. Let's say San Francisco. Tennessee, New York. The Jets have more talent. New York, New England. The Jets have more talent. How about Denver? Jets have more talent. Minnesota Vikings. Jets have more talent. Buffalo Bills. Jets have more talent. Steelers, Dolphins, Rams, Jaguars. They have more talent than all of these teams. So if people are going to be focused on injuries and everything else, that's perfectly fine. But this is a time of year, a situation, a day to allow yourselves to get excited about the future. Allow yourselves to be happy that the schedule is not as bad as people think. It really isn't. It really isn't. I want to make sure I get my friend in here. So again, I'm going to give you guys some a fair warning. I have a Patriots friend. His name is Austin. Big Patriots fan, the biggest one that I know of. Historically brilliant, knows everything about the game. I respect him as a Patriots fan. When I said that the Jets should be able to sweep the Patriots, the Jets should dominate those 2 games. This was his response. And I think he knows, he should know at least, that the Jets are going to have far more talent than the Patriots this season. And the coaching staff in New England is not the same as the years that they have dominated this rivalry. Overall, this is a great schedule for the Jets. And they should dominate the Patriots. They should. Boomtown with the question on Matt O'Leary's stuff. Were the Dolphins home and away games flipped, though? So, yeah, I think that's the only thing that O'Leary got wrong. Again, I don't really look into it that much. I go based off of Costello's reporting. And Costello's reporting is as good as it gets. And that's the schedule that I'm talking about here. Plain and simple. Interesting to note, though, Jets home games end the season. First time since, 2016 that's happened? That's pretty damn good. And again, if you are playing a winner-take-all AFC East showdown against the Miami Dolphins, don't you want that game in the freezing temperatures of New York in January of 2025? Wouldn't you want that for your team? I would certainly. If I knew my opponent can't handle the cold at any point, I would want the last game of the year being at home. Boomtown with the comments, 2nd seed, that's an odd way to pronounce a top seed. Again, I've said this before. I've said this consistently. I am not going to hold everyone's hand and tell them that everything is going to be great when it isn't. I'm also going to be objective. 12-5 is a great season for the Jets. It's exactly what I think they're going to be able to do and accomplish. Is that going to be enough to thwart the Chiefs for the 1 seed in the AFC? That's the only question I have. Or it could be the Texans. We can't slide on Houston. And if Houston beats the Jets, the actual Texans could be the number 1 seed in the AFC. That's not out of the realm of possibility either. So, again, 2nd seed, 3rd seed, 4th seed, whatever it is, the Jets are winning the AFC East. I have them at 12 wins. Under no circumstances should they just be a plain wild card team. The schedule does not allow it. It doesn't allow it. There's got to be like 3 or 4 upsets the entire year for New York in order for that to take place. I just don't see it happening. Allen with his prediction, 11-6, 4-2 in the AFC East, and playoff win at minimum. If falls short, it's clean house. So again, an interesting question here built up by Allen. What is the bare minimum for the Jets? Is it playoff win or bust? Is it conference title appearance or bust? If they get to 10-7 and reach the AFC Championship game, everyone appears to be safe, no? Even though they only won 10 games? If they win 12 games, win in the wild card round, and lose to a team like the Chiefs in the divisional round, is that considered a failure? Should this coaching staff and front office deserve another season? Another question to answer. So, well, I don't think it's as simple as saying the Jets need to clean house unless they reach a certain regular season win total. There should be no excuse to get to 12 wins. There should be no excuse. The schedule lines up perfectly for this team. You've got road games in Florida in December, so the heat's not going to be a factor. You've got home games against weak competition to begin the season. What more could you ask for? What more could you ask for? We're going to go on for just a couple more minutes. I know dealing with a couple of stuff from home, so I'm not going to be able to go through 6 o'clock. unfortunately. But a couple questions here. I just saw it. Marvel with the question, do you think the Jets take a stab at Justin Simmons? I do not. I think the Jets will probably add an additional player, potentially at safety. But I do think that they want to see how far this safety group can go in training camp, in OTAs. If they are a glaring weakness in training camp, I think they will sign a free agent off the streets. I think they will. Swamp Ranger, I think for this staff to remain in place, they need to either win the division and win at least one playoff game, or make the playoffs as a wild card and go on a run to the AFC title game or further. I think this is a very fair barometer for the Jets. Winning the division and winning a playoff game to get to the divisional round and losing to the Houston Texans or the Chiefs, I think that signifies a very strong season and deservedly allows Saleh and Douglas to return for next year. If they are a wild card team, which I think would be a fallacy to begin with, but they get to the AFC title game, they are also safe by that metric because they won multiple playoff games and not just one. Anything can happen in a playoff game. It's hard for me to judge it based on that. So regular season success has to count for something in that metric, in this conversation. Yes, they should. There's no excuse to not make the playoffs. If they don't, the Jets are probably cleaning house. 12 wins, 10 wins, AFC title game appearance, division title, all of that's going to be taken into account. All of that's going to muddy up the waters a little bit when we talk about the outlook for what the Jets are going to be able to do this season. All right, one final comment. And I say comment because I know this is from DMAC. Nick, you have to take me to London. So again, for those of you that do not know from the Jake Asman show, DMAC is my uncle-in-law, part uncle. I have no idea what it is. He is my wife's uncle. He is a Jets fan. He is the black sheep of his family, which is ironic because I am the black sheep of my family. I'm an Eagles fan in a Steelers household. He's a Jets fan in a Giants household, which is why I think he's the smartest of all of them, being a non-Giants fan. But again, I digress. He has taken me to Eagle games and perfect spots at Lincoln Financial Field. So yes, I do owe Uncle Doug a trip to London or a trip in general to a Jets game. I do not know when that's going to happen. I am looking for a job currently, so we're going to wait and see what happens. But yes, it is well aware that I owe him a game or multiple games to a Jets destination spot. Maybe it'll be Pittsburgh. Maybe it'll be another time in 2025. I have no idea. It will be established. So let's just make that point very clear. Outside of that, we're going to end the show today a little bit early. We went through the entire 2024 schedule. Again, I have the Jets at 12-5 in a spot in the AFC Championship game where they will probably inevitably lose to the Kansas City Chiefs because I just cannot bet against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid right now. So again, my final prediction, 12-5, AFC East performance. Appreciate all of you guys for jumping on. I'm going to continue to push out content throughout the evening as the schedule release becomes officially official. And I hope to see you guys on Friday. We'll probably have a show by then. If not, it will be Monday evening. Appreciate all of you guys for jumping on. I will see you all next time.